welcome to the Celtic Morning Way Briefing Live, or Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live even. Got that right. What a start, eh? Yes, we're back. Shady's back. Right, there you go. Yes, I'm back. Haggerty 10 Twitter handle. Joined by Sean Martin, TCW. Sorry, boss. We slapped the tongue there, but there you go. And Alison McConnell. How are you, Alison?
I'm very well. Thank you. Nice bit of sunshine. Quick walk this morning. All good with the world.
Indeed. And all is good with the world, Sean, because Celtic were quite impressive on Saturday against Ross County. 4-0 win, very comfortable, solid, and another Georges Giakoumakis hat-trick. But Ange took the huff because the commentator or interviewer called Georges Giakoumakis a Greek god and not him. That was brilliant. Brilliant moment in sport again. But yeah, decent all-round impressive display by Celtic, Sean.
Aye. First of all, good to have you back, Tony.
Yes, I'll put my teeth in.
It was a close second to David Turnbull's return over the weekend, probably. I thought they were really good. I think that was up there with one of their better performances throughout the season, not just since they came back for the winter break. I think, I wrote in my ratings, this is how you can usually tell that I've been really impressed. Joe Hart got a 6, but that was because he never had done anything to get a 7, because he never had anything to worry about, really. But everybody else that started, barring Tom Rogic, who only get half an hour because of the injury, everybody got a 7 or an 8, apart from Giakoumakis, who get the fabled 9. Because ultimately, 3 goals and an assist in a 4-0 win, but you can't really ask for more. But I thought all round, I thought the team did really well. I think there were, again, no passengers. They were keeping to their system. They kept to the intensity. Ange Postecoglou used his subs to good effect. I genuinely thought it was an all-round really, really good performance.
Alison, there's been an assuredness and a calmness about Celtic, the way they've been dealing with the last couple of games. I'm thinking of Livingston. We were both there, and on Saturday I was there as a punter. But, Celtic just kind of made light work of both of those games when you would have thought there would be nerves and some tension as you're counting down at the business end of the season. But they're quite clinical and professional at this moment in time.
I think they've been very composed performances. I think they've hit their stride, really, which is what Ange Postecoglou had said. It's almost like trying to time their run, that you peak going into the end of the season. And I think you could say that the evidence is there that Celtic are doing that just now. I think the Livingston performance, the United performance, the way they played against Ross County, I think, you could have been getting on easily 6 or 7 at the weekend, given the way that Celtic just controlled the game from start to finish. I think that can be really key for Celtic, how they start in those opening 15-20 minutes. I think it just sets a tone for the game. But I think that's now, 10 goals in their last 3 games. I think a kind of curious anomaly that you're the most attacking team in the league, that you've scored more goals than them, and they don't have they don't have anyone in the top 5 of the leading goal scorers. It maybe points to the fact that they have goals really all over the team, which you can view in 2 ways. I think there's a strength in that, obviously, as a collective, but it's funny that you don't have one outstanding goal scorer there that's maybe topping the charts.
Now, talking of goal scorers, Sean, the Greek god Georges Giakoumakis himself, 3 goals, Sean, 2 headers, a penalty. He made sure he didn't miss this penalty, but I was really impressed with the 2 headers. For the obvious reason, he was up on Friday night for the cross that came over for Jota. You know what I mean? That's how early he got up. And in the second one was most impressive for me because it was the way they angled the second header. Because the temptation just to go back in and head it where it came and hit the defender for a second time. But he actually saw him angling his head and his eyes and angling the header away so it went in. And I just thought that was just brilliant, instinctive striker play, Sean, for both headers, to be honest.
The second one was that was the one that stood out to me. But as much as for the fact that he even anticipated that it might have to go back in again, never mind. Yeah. A lot would have just headed it the first time and then took it as it's rebounded. I've done my job, but he thought, well, that might actually hit him. And again, it's just what you said there. It's instinctive. A lot of the things, it just comes alive in the box. I was talking to Alison on Friday, and Alan Morrison wrote a piece basically breaking down Giakoumakis, and you saw pretty much everything Alan said come to fruition on Saturday again, as well as my kind of give him it across the box and one touch finish it in, that kind of thing. Because that's still every goal. Every goal's been one touch in the box. I done a wee graphic after the Dundee United game to share on Twitter, just kind of breaking down touches, shots on target, and then what part of his body he's scored with, that kind of thing. And I thought, I might as well update it again because he's moved on 3 goals since. So it's like 68 touches in the box, which you might think doesn't actually seem like that much, but think how little he's actually played as well. 45 shots, 24 of those on target. Of those 24, 12 have been goals. And then the breakdowns, 8 with his right foot, 1 with his left foot, and then obviously 3 with his head, 2 of which were on Saturday. But it's a great run of form that he's on. You can see the confidence coursing through him. It's somebody's actually put in a comment here, which I suppose is probably a full debate for another day. But if Kyogo was available, would you even start him now over Giakoumakis, the form that he's in?
Got a long couple of weeks coming up, Sean. You know what I mean? So I think that's one for, as you say, a show in itself. But Alison, were you impressed with Giakoumakis on Saturday?
I think it'd be very churlish not to be. I think when you look at his stats, I think that's 12 goals now, 11 of which have all come since the turn of the year. I think he's really shown himself to come alive just in that 6-yard box, I think. And he's very different to what Celtic have. I know someone there just talked about Kyogo. They're such different players in terms of what they bring. I think it'd be quite intriguing to see both of them play together, which would mean a change in system in some ways, I think. But I think what you're seeing a player, a striker particularly, who now is just imbued with a particular kind of confidence. And I think that's reflective in the kind of goals that he's getting. I think it just underpins those kind of performances. But there's a magnetism about him with the ball at his feet in the 6-yard box. I think you trust him to score now. And I think that becomes a circle almost that when you sense the trust of the crowd of the players around about you, that you feed off it, that it gives you a particular kind of energy and assurance, and all of a sudden you're willing to take risks and just come alive again.
He's enjoying himself, isn't he, Sean? More to the point, by the looks of it.
Definitely, everybody's enjoying themselves, to be honest. The last few games have been very much enjoyable, and I think you can see that in the players as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Alison, you touched upon it, that Jota's found a bit of form again. Thought he was excellent on Saturday. Assist for the first goal and just his general plays. He's starting to find that form again, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think he's such a big player for Celtic. I think he's been a really integral creative outlet for the way that Celtic have wanted to play. I think what you have seen again in recent weeks is middle to front just been fairly formidable. I think at the start of the season you were seeing it in glimpses too, just at how menacing Celtic can be when they move and attack as a team. And I think you're starting to glimpse that again, just the form of recent weeks when you see it come together. I think Celtic can be pretty formidable. And I think when it clicks like that with players like Jota on form, you've got Giakoumakis scoring goals, Callum McGregor just dictating play just in that middle role, I think Celtic can make life very uncomfortable for teams.
And also you said there, Sean, David Turnbull coming back, possibility of Kyogo coming back at some point. He shouts Ibrox in a silent manner. But there you go. But it's always, Alison said there, this is kind of Celtic maybe peaking, as Ange has already forewarned people.
I think so. And I made the point that in my kind of post-match kind of analysis, reflective piece, that kind of thing, that see at this stage of the season, just over a handful of games left, it's not quite the home straight, but you would argue it's the kind of final bend before you come into the home straight. See, to go out and make a kind of what should be a routine victory actually be a routine victory is almost a skill in itself at this stage of the season. And I think that's what Saturday was. And you've got to remember, me and Alison spoke about it in the preview on Friday and pointed out that although it was always in form, Ross County was the kind of caveat to them because they've won the last 3 games or whatever. You can stretch it back to the last 20 in the league, and they were just the only teams ahead of them were Celtic and Rangers for the form guide. So it was a formidable kind of opponent, even though it was at Parkhead, and even though at Parkhead they don't even usually score against Celtic, Ross County, but it still was a potential for making it difficult for yourself one of those afternoons. And I think it's to Celtic's testament that they didn't at all, and it was, as I say, a routine victory that they made look routine.
Yeah. Now, one of Celtic's other strikers wingers, whatever way you want to say he plays. Maeda has withdrawn from the Japanese squad, Alison. I think they're citing fitness issues, is that right? I think that was what was...
Fitness reasons, yes.
Fitness reasons he's withdrawn. Now, whilst that's a blow for Japan who've got crucial qualifiers, it's possibly a good thing for Celtic moving forward.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's played particularly well. I thought actually he was one of the standout performers on Saturday. I think his work rate is to be lauded. I think you see him, he works his socks off at times. I think the 89th minute of a game where you're 4-0 up and points in the bank and the guy's still bursting a gut to chase down a ball. And I think having him not travel extensively or have concerns about him picking up an injury or aggravating an injury if he's carrying something will be a benefit to Celtic, given the fact that they're going to go into a fairly intense month once the international break is over. I think there's a potential really now for 3 games against Rangers. You've got possibly 2 league games coming very much in quick succession, and then the cup semi-final. So I think there might be a quiet bit of relief that if there is any physical issue whatsoever, that you're protecting them from making it worse.
Sean Alison said that there. That'll have pleased Ange Postecoglou more than anything, that it's the 89th minute and he's still chasing people down. I mean, more than his goal and more than his contribution, just it's the little things like that Ange looks upon and thinks, you know what, that's why you're here, that's why you're in my team, it's what you bring to the table.
I mean, that's why he signed him. That's why, I mean, he knew that's what he'd be getting with him. And I think he's only been in Glasgow for a few months, but that's what you know you're going to get with him. Now, the criticism that's been kind of levelled at him has been mostly to do with the kind of technique, I would say, the technical side of the game. But I thought on Saturday that was even a lot better. I thought some of his flicks for the link-up play were really good. It was quite a lot of poise he showed, actually, at times. There was also... I don't think it ever really worried the keeper, but I was still quite impressed that when Callum McGregor clipped the ball over to him and he managed to adjust his body for a really quite difficult header. He got it on target. It didn't really worry the keeper, but I was still quite impressed with him, with the way that he adjusted to get the shot off. We said, I think, and I wrote this in my ratings, the biggest compliment you can probably pay him, that Giakoumakis would have been proud of that one-touch instinctive finish. No, I agree with Alison. I thought he had a really, really good game. Arguably his best since he came. And the fact that if it is just fitness reasons and it's not an actual injury that's going to rule him out when the international break finishes, then I think it is a benefit for Celtic that he's not going away, because it was games against Australia and Vietnam and back, probably not to play all that much, to be honest. So it was a lot of travelling for very little, you would have thought. So keeping him in Lennoxtown is a benefit.
He was also involved in a move that I think Matt O'Reilly side-footed it wide, which would have been the football goal of the season. There was a couple of flicks involved in that, wasn't there? And you just thought it was really slick. And I was cussing O'Reilly, actually. He never buried it. I thought he should have, but it was still a great move, and it was really unlucky, wasn't it? Some great football there, Alison.
Yeah, it was very fluent. I think it just kind of showcased the speed with which Celtic can come at you. I think so many players involved in it too, and yeah, I think it was unlucky. I would agree with you. I think it was very easy on the eye. Had it gone in, I think you'd have been raving about it.
Now, the one downside from the game was the injury to Tom Rogic. You're hoping it's not particularly nasty, but red card for you, Sean. Did you see it that way?
Do you know, I'm still not sure it is, but it's because of the angle. There's a player in front of the angle that I can see it on in the replays, and I just can't tell, because he obviously got the ball, but I can't quite see how high he went over. So I'd need to see it from the reverse angle, and I just can't find a clip of that. So I don't know, basically. I don't know if it was a red card.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are pointing out that Ramsey had clattered into somebody prior to that, didn't he?
That's a better point.
Booking right, and he never got booked. So, and then it looks bad on Rogic. I'm like you. I've seen it from one angle, and he looks as if he's got the ball, and then it's the follow through. Don't know your own thoughts, Alison, on it, if you think it's a straight red card, but I think it was the fact that he got away with the first one, wasn't it? And Celtic supporters are pretty up in arms about it.
I think that's exactly it. I think the tackle before it that went unpunished, I think was just probably fresh in the mind when he went back in again. I'm like Sean, I'm not convinced it was a red card offence, and I think had it been in isolation, I'm not sure it would have been, but I think the fact it came, 90 seconds or something between the two instances, I think that's what forced his hand.
It's obviously logic enough to have him walk off the park or hobble off the park injured, so you're hoping there's no lasting damage. But I think I agree with that. I think the first one should have been punished and then possibly a double booking.
Or I think it doesn't go into that tackle the way that he goes into it if he's already been booked. Is the point really? Like that's where I think it's not so much the actual tackle that people were so annoyed about. It was the fact that he probably wouldn't have went into it if he'd been booked for the first tackle before it, and then Rogic wouldn't have had to have been forced off at all. That kind of thing. Yeah,
possibly. Yeah, I suppose that's a fair point indeed. Yeah, but as I say, the last few games, as Alison said, have been very pleasing in the eye. If you're a Celtic supporter, obviously it's 2 weeks to Ibrox, and there's a mindset of if they can get a draw and just keep themselves 3 points in front. But I'm inclined to say that why not go there and win, Sean? It's certainly not beyond them playing the way they are.
I think that's always got. You know where I stand. You go in to win every game, every competition. I know it doesn't always work out like that, but that has got to be the aim, and that's got to be the way that you approach it. Going to Ibrox is no different, whether it's a full Ibrox with just Rangers fans or whether it's half and half, but you know what I mean, getting a full stand or whether it was down the park. I think it's still the same mindset you've got to have for it. In terms of the way they've been playing, I agree. I think on Saturday the start that probably impressed me most, there was two actually, but this one I would take this one, which is 10 outfield players, Celtic players, had at least one key pass. 10 of the outfielders. That was just, again, speaks to me about how there was no passengers, how there was just such a team performance. That's not usual.
Was it Joe Hart 6 that didn't have a yeah.
So not all the 10 starters, but 10 outfielders out of the 14 or 15 that he used. But I still thought that was really, really impressive. There was also a few that had more than one, obviously, but I just feel that speaks to how dominant they were and how they shared that about the creative burden. The other stat was this is the fourth game in a row that a set pieces led to a goal. Now, I went on about set pieces when they had the midweek off and stuff. I kind of I concentrated my skills on that and just said that it has to become a marginal gain because they weren't making enough of it in the opposition box and in their own box. So to see them score from a set piece or at least led to a goal kind of thing, 4 games in a row is not only a marginal gain, it's quite a big gain.
Alison, Ibrox coming up. Celtic are assuming that the personnel's all there, that they're heading there in good fettle, aren't they?
Well, I think what you would say is they're heading with the wind at their back. They're in a very positive frame of mind. It's not just the fact that they're winning games, but they're winning games with a certain kind of performance, with a certain kind of swagger about them. I think there's goals coming. I'm not sure that they could really be in any better shape, but I think this month really now defines the season for Celtic, and I think the only way that they could be any stronger is if you have like Kyogo maybe back in the side, if you have players coming back. But I think in terms of what you have, with the reality of what you're working with day to day, I think the squad is very much and the team is very much peaking just as they're going into the definitive part of the campaign. And what you may say is that the break hasn't come ideally. I think there's an argument that you're maybe breaking momentum just when you stop to allow players to go out for international duty, and there's always a fear of picking up again just where you've left off. But I think just now you would have to say that their performances have been beyond reproach in recent weeks.
Sean, do you agree with that about putting the pedal to the metal again? It's maybe sometimes hard after an international break to do that, but conversely, Andy's maybe got more time to work with guys again on the training pitch, which he admits he loves doing.
I would concentrate more on that second one. I think there is a point. I think it's only natural. It is a disruption to the kind of club season, but I think given it's still Ange's first season and he's still in a lot of ways still getting people kind of in tune with what he wants and stuff. Any time with any of them on the Lennoxtown training pitches is a benefit for him. Now, obviously, he's going to have we've talked about Anthony Ralston last week. Carter Vickers didn't get the America call up and stuff. You've got other players that have come back from injury that won't be going away. You've got David Turnbull back now as well. So you've got a clutch of good players there that are first team contributors that are not going to be going away and can use this to their benefit. And I think that's exactly what we'll be aiming to do.
Yes, indeed. It's a long 2 weeks before Ibrox. We'll be filling the bulletins in as best we can. But that was a good Monday morning start, apart from my slip up at the start when I put the morning in the wrong. But there you go. I'll get over it. I'll work on my technique, as we say, Sean, and we'll reconvene. But guys, as ever, always enjoy your contributions. That was good. Enjoyed that chat. And we'll move on during the week and we'll count the days down to Ibrox, Sean. What do you think?
Every day.
Thanks, Alison. We'll see you again tomorrow, yes?
Thanks.
Later in the week.
Yeah, later in the week. All right, cool. Nice one. But we'll see everybody again. Thanks for your contributions. Always enjoy them too. And we'll look forward to see what the future brings. Thanks, guys. All the best. Have a good day.
Cheers, guys.